Servus Männer, it's Red Pill Germany again. Today I want to talk about our current Pope of the Catholic Church, Pope Francis. And this is maybe long overdue that I say something about that. So I was raised Catholic and I also still consider myself being a Catholic, but I think I mentioned it time and time again in my videos, but now I really want to make a dedicated video about this topic and yeah, speak my mind on this topic. Every year, it's getting harder and harder for me to go to church or to listen to what the church authorities have to say, because their message is actually turning more and more away from what is actually Christian or actually Catholic, and it becomes more and more related or close or alike to what the Green Party says or what these leftist, Marxists, and social justice types are actually preaching. It becomes more and more a political speech and less about religion or about theology or something like that. So they're not dealing with aspects of the soul, but more with aspects of geopolicy and new world order, UN kind of policy. And I'm sick and tired of it. And when I read now the Christmas message of our Pope, I really, it made me a bit sad and a bit angry at the same time. But it's nothing new. It's the usual. And I posted the link in English and in German down below. It's not too long. So and the political half is the second half, so you can look it up and read it for yourself. Let me just comment a little bit on that and give you my thoughts and just my general message right away. um, I don't know if it makes any sense to say that. Like people say Trump is not my president or Merkel is not my chancellor. I don't know if it makes a lot of sense to say now that Pope Francis is not my pope, whatever that means. I mean, I didn't vote for him anyway. But this is basically what I would say. That he's not my pope. My pope is the last pope, and he is not dead. He's still alive, and he's called Benedict, formerly known as Cardinal Ratzinger. And I have no idea what went on behind the scenes or why he actually stepped back from the office. But let's just say he was different. Not completely, but in many key aspects, he was different. And yeah, he cleared the throne, so to speak, or the chair of St. Peter. He cleared the path for a Marxist, for a New World Order Marxists. And yeah, so you can actually, as I said, read it for yourself. Links down below. What I want to mention is not so much the individual sections. I mean, he talks a lot about different parts of the world, right? He talks about Africa and the Middle East, and he talks about America and certain difficulties that people are faced with there. And when he talks about those people, right? Let's say their ancestors come from more southern um, areas of the planet, closer to the equator, let's just say, okay, as compared to native Europeans, indigenous Europeans. When he talks about them, it really occurs to me, or it really struck me, that he's always using these passive constructions, like, they are suffering from this and that, and this kind of injustice is what they're faced with, and they find themselves in these situations, and so on. So they have no agency. It's always some nebulous evil group that is acting some evil thing on them. All right. So for as an example, like Africans, they're never the perpetrators of what happens there in Africa. It's always some group or someone, but never themselves. But the reality is that obviously in these countries, of course, not everyone is a criminal, not everyone is a violent person there, but the people who do this violent stuff there are the people who live there. So they are Africans, they are Arabs or Middle Easterners, and they're doing that stuff. you know. And I'm not gonna talk now about the differences in culture or IQ or history or whatever is responsible. I'm just saying a clear, observable fact of reality is that it's not some invading external force, but it is they themselves that cause these situations, right? And he also talks about Europe, but he talks about Europe in a much different way. Yeah, he doesn't talk about European people per se, but he says that, many people from Africa, they come north and they want to cross the ocean and they just want to live a better life and they just want to have a life in dignity. Yeah, that this life should come without any effort and work and free of charge, he doesn't say that, of course. But when he talks about Europeans, he says that these people who come north, they are facing a wall of indifference, and Europeans are then characterized as people who are indifferent and they're closing their hearts and they don't want to help these poor people in need. But I don't know how thick these Vatican walls are that he is hiding behind. And he should maybe remember that he is not only the Pope of the global Catholic Church, but he is also the Bishop of Rome, and this is a European office. His people are the European people. But he tends to forget that because I don't see these walls, that he's talking about. Yeah, he doesn't mean actual walls because there are no actual walls. Our borders are wide open, and whoever wants to cross them can just waltz in there. There is no border protection. Yeah, we have border enforcement or border protection patrols, what have you. But do you know what their actual job is? Their job is to hand out food and water and medication and give them clothes and smartphones and free credit cards. They are there to facilitate this process of colonization or migration, whatever you want to call it. They're not there to actually enforce our laws and keep people out. They're there to help them. Okay, so I don't know what kind of walls he's talking about. Maybe he's talking about that some Europeans are fed up and they don't want to pay anymore, and they see the great injustice that is done to the indigenous people of Europe, and who are to the thousands and 10,000s becoming victims of these newly arrived guests of ours, right? And also, I think that he is also working for a future in 100, 200 years, what have you, in which there will not be a single European person left on the planet. I'm convinced, after many years that I've seen what he's done, I listened to his speeches, and this is the basic narrative that I'm getting out of his speeches. And he uses language in a very sly way. He's an educated person. He knows how to talk. Yeah, sure. But his overall message is a stupid, simplistic, black and white message. Yeah? Southern person, good. Northern person, bad. That's the basic message. That's all there is to it. And I think the reason is, or one of the reasons actually, is more simple than you might think. Yeah, because he is getting a lot of money from European people. All his priests, all his bishops, all these administration buildings, all these um, houses that they own, and so on and so on. Who pays for that? Who pays the salaries of the bishops? Who pays the church tax in Germany? Yeah, of course, it's German people. It's indigenous Europeans. And let's just say that this priest class, historically, I mean, this is not only true for Catholics, it's true for almost everyone. It's also true for Buddhist monks here in Japan, where I am right now. And this is maybe the topic for another video, but the economic business model of a Buddhist temple is not so much different from a Christian church. But that's beyond the scope of this video now. What I'm trying to say is that this priest class, they're not actually working. They're not actually creating any wealth, nothing tangible. They're not growing corn, not growing wheat. They're not mining. They're not fishing. They're not working in a factory. They're not building roads. Sometimes they teach children. They're teachers. But overall, they are dependent on payments, on redistribution of wealth from the people who do the actual work. So I guess you know that. It's a very well known fact that if you want to keep this business model, this parasitic business model running, you need to make the side that's actually working and paying, you need to make them feel guilty. You need to make them feel deficient and guilty and wanting in something. Yeah. And then you can milk and exploit this feeling of guilt, or the sense that there is something missing to their lives or whatever, or that they have to yeah, repent or to redeem themselves or something like that, right? And does he get money from Africans or some Middle Eastern migrants? No, he doesn't. He gets the money from white Europeans. So it's them he has to make feel guilty. And if he cannot make them feel guilty about what they do, because they're not doing anything wrong, they're just going to work and they pay their taxes and they obey the laws and they do no harm. So he has to dig up stories from 500 years ago, and at the same time, of course, make sure that the things that the Catholic Church did 500 years ago, that's ancient history. That's besides the point here. I mean, let's stick to the topic. Yeah, so that's the business model. Make the white man feel inadequate and wanting and guilty, and then you can exploit him, and yeah, that's how they survive. That's how they keep their nice positions where they don't have to actually work. And then that doesn't explain the whole thing. Yeah, you wouldn't need migration or anything for that. I just think he's a Marxist. I just think he believes in the New World Order, and maybe European people are thinking too critically for him. They're not as easy to control. Yeah. Then but that's besides the point actually now. I really don't want to go into hypotheses now of why would that be. This is just an observation I made over all the years, and I want to stick with the facts. And the facts are that his message is definitely a black and white message that's intended to harm Europeans and to uplift and to support the Southerners. Okay? That's a common theme throughout all his speeches and everything he does. Just an observation, and I think he's the wrong guy for the office of Pope. Yeah, and that's why I say not my Pope. I'm still a Catholic, but this guy, I don't even know if he's a Christian. I have no idea who this guy is. I have no idea what his motivation actually is. I mean, I can't look inside of his head, right? But let's just say he doesn't strike me as Catholic or Christian or European or anything like that. All right, so keep the conspiracies a little, to the well. Don't go crazy in the comments, okay? But tell me what you think about it. All right. So be safe wherever you are. Servus, Kameraden.